The fight over vaccine passport rages across the country. 12 states are currently banning or limiting vaccine passports. And our next guest wants to make this standard across the country. Here with more Republican Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz. Senator, good morning.
Steve, good morning. Good to be with you.
You're worried that people will be discriminated against based on whether or not they've had the vaccine.
Look, that's exactly right. Listen, I think vaccines are terrific. I've had the vaccine myself. I think it's given us a lot of freedom. But I think there's a real potential for government overreach, and I don't believe anyone should be forced to take the vaccine. It should be your personal choice. You should make the choice based on your health, based on the decisions you want. And so I've introduced this week legislation that would, number one, prohibit any federal vaccine passport, prohibit the Biden administration from doing anything to mandate vaccines, but it also prohibits discrimination in employment. We're seeing some places where employers are saying, if you're not vaccinated, you're fired, and that ought to be illegal. Your health decisions are yours to make, and it shouldn't be your boss, it shouldn't be the government, it shouldn't be anyone else forcing you to make those decisions.
Senator, we have heard from Joe Biden things like, you know, we're not going to require a vaccine passport at this point. Is this something that could actually wind up passing with bipartisan support?
You know, I hope so, and we'll see. I mean, this is a very divided Congress, so bipartisan support is elusive these days. But Joe Biden has said the federal government is not going to require a vaccine passport. And so if he believes that, if Democrats believe that, they ought to be able to support this bill. This bill builds on existing civil rights laws, and it simply adds your health decision of whether or not to get this vaccine to the protected classes that cannot be discriminated against. Right. It also ensures privacy. It ensures that your medical privacy is protected, that you can't be forced to disclose information against your will.
All right. And over in the House today, it sounds like bipartisan groups are going to introduce one piece of legislation that could actually allow Americans to sue China over coronavirus. Any chance that's going to get traction in the Senate?
You know, at least so far, Senate Democrats have been very reluctant to hold China to account for its role in the spread of COVID-19. We know the Chinese government was directly culpable for the cover-up, for silencing the initial outbreak. You look at the heroic Chinese whistleblowers, doctors, journalists, who at the very beginning of this pandemic spoke out, and the Chinese government arrested them. They disappeared them. They silenced them. And that played a major role in the spread of this pandemic globally. We now are seeing more and more people acknowledging what I have been saying for over a year, that the preponderance of the evidence suggests that this virus escaped, likely accidentally, from a Chinese government lab in Wuhan. When I began saying this back in March and April of last year, you know, I do a podcast every week called Verdict with Ted Cruz, and we did multiple podcasts walking through the evidence. You know, Wuhan, where this outbreak began, there are not one but two different Chinese government virology labs.
I know.
Both of them study not just viruses, they study coronaviruses. Exactly. Not just coronaviruses, coronaviruses from bats. One of them, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, is 400 yards away from the wet market where the first outbreak occurred. Right. I think the most natural conclusion, which the Chinese government does not want anyone to know the facts of, is that the virus escaped accidentally from that Chinese government lab. And at least so far, the Biden administration has been unwilling to dig in and force a real and objective investigation into the facts.
All right, let's see what they do. Senator, thank you very much for joining us on this Friday.
Thank you.